You may have noticed in this week's module, and in fact, all of our modules, that we cite a lot of the literature on teaching and learning. The title of this course is An Introduction to Evidence-Based Undergraduate STEM Teaching, and in fact, one of our central arguments is that our teaching can and should be informed by the research on teaching and learning. That can be a bit of a challenge, though, because there's a lot of research out there. Trina, how do you go about staying current with the literature on teaching and learning in your field?
Well, it's hard, Derek. It does take time, but I try to carve out that time very intentionally, like I would for my own domain science. So setting aside time to read and to think about the scholarly approaches to teaching and learning. I also seek out conferences that have education-based themes. My own professional societies actually have conferences with dual tracks where there's presentations about our science, but then also presentations about advances in teaching and learning in that area. And so I do try to go to those conferences and go back and forth between those tracks. There's the American Society for Engineering Education, which I'm an engineer, and so that's very relevant to what I teach, but I think it would also be relevant to other STEM disciplines. They have a journal and they also have their own education-based conference. So I try hard to make the time. I don't always do it every month or every week, but I do try to carve out the time the same way I would for my own science.
For me, I found actually Twitter is a really helpful resource. So I try to be careful about who I follow on Twitter. I follow a lot of people who are tweeting about education and STEM education and teaching with technology. And so when I see a bunch of people tweet about the same new research study that comes out, then that's my sign that I should probably go read that study, right? And so I found that as a nice kind of low impact way to stay current when it comes to teaching and learning. We should also point out that this is the first course in a two-course sequence on STEM education. In our next course, you'll have more opportunities to find out what the literature says about teaching and learning. We'll actually have entire modules on the topics of cooperative learning, problem-based learning, peer instruction, and inquiry-based labs. So this week we looked at some really concrete strategies for active learning and what the literature says about it. We'll do a lot more of that in the second course. And so if you're looking for those types of strategies and what the research says, we hope you'll join us for that.